was at the NEC Motorhome and Caravan show recently, and a lot of people came up to me on the RoadPro stand and said, "Andy, what are you doing on the RoadPro stand?" Well, it's time to come clean. I actually work at RoadPro. In fact, I own RoadPro. I started it about 36 years ago or so, and I reckon I've got about another 36 years still in me. Anyway, we're here in RoadPro's workshop in Daventry, and behind me you can see the very nice Burstner Elegance that we're working on at the moment. And I'd like to show you what we're doing on this motorhome, because it's actually quite interesting and very unusual, as you will see if you step right this way. So what we've done is fit this Dometic Fresh Light air conditioning system. Now, if you don't know, the Fresh Light is different from most air conditioning systems because it goes into a hecky window and still retains the ability to have light coming through, because it's actually got a little window built into it. This does mean that the air conditioning unit is a bit bigger than a standard one. It's a bit wider, it's a bit longer, it's a bit heavier, but it does give you this extra light. It doesn't take any light away if you fit it into a conventional hecky space. Now then, the people who own this motorhome want to be able to use the air conditioning system at all times. They're not keen on going to campsites. They're not campsite captives. They want to be able to use the aircon wherever they are. And the problem is they're going to be going to places that are pretty hot. Southern Europe, Eastern Europe, down to Spain. So how do you run an aircon unit like this that consumes quite a lot of power from batteries? Well, what you do is you install batteries like this. Now these are 3 NDS 3-Lion lithium batteries, 100 amp hours each. So 300 amp hours in all. It's quite a lot of power. Now, the thing about lithium batteries is that they give you a lot more usable energy than you would get with lead acid batteries. Remember, they want to use these batteries to run their air conditioning unit. Now, with ordinary lead acid batteries, say you had 300 amp hours worth, you might get 150 amp hours out of the batteries, because you should really only discharge lead acid batteries 50% of their nominal amp hour rating. If you go below that, you can damage the batteries and the voltage will drop to a point where appliances simply won't work. This doesn't happen with lithium batteries. You can take out almost all the amp hours in there. So 100 amp hours, you can take out around, say, 95. You won't damage the batteries, and they're very quick to charge up again as well. Now then, that air conditioning unit uses about 600 watts, which if you divide by 12, that's 12 volts, is about 50 amps. So with 300 amp hours of power in these batteries, you're going to get around 6 hours of use out of the air conditioning unit, even when you're not on hookup. Of course, you've got to change the 12 volts into 230 volts, and we do this with this NDS 2 kilowatt pure sine wave inverter. Now, this inverter does something else as well. It's connected to all the 230 volt 3-pin sockets in the motorhome. And it's got a very clever little feature. There's a switch inside it, so that when the motorhome is connected to mains hookup, the inverter knows and disconnects itself. When the mains hookup is disconnected, the inverter switches on and immediately sends its own power to the sockets. So you've always got 230 volts wherever you are or whatever you're doing. Pretty clever, eh? Up here on top of the motorhome, you can see the air conditioning unit. Sorry, we haven't actually finished yet, so still not exactly as it should be. But here's the air conditioning unit. You can see the window here that lets all that light through into the motorhome. And then behind me on either side, we have 140 watt NDS Aero solar panels. So together they're providing up to 280 watts of power from the sun, which on a good day, which they're hoping they're going to have lots of, should give them about 16, 17 amps perhaps going into those lithium batteries down there. So quickly charging them up again if they have been using the aircon overnight. Of course, even on a sunny day, putting 17 or 18 amps an hour into the battery isn't going to top them up for, well, quite a few hours, you work it out. But the great thing about lithium batteries is that they charge very, very quickly from the alternator. They can charge at 50, 60, 75 amps an hour, depending on how everything's been set up. And setting lithium batteries up correctly is absolutely essential if they're to work correctly and safely and not be damaged. Now, lithium batteries is a fascinating subject. Well, I think so anyway, and I hope you will too when I tell you more about them some other time. See you then.